How do we sit? Oh my god, if it's not planes and dogs and sheep and cows. That's a big one as well. Sorry everyone. So we've had to open the trailer because of the heat. So apologies in advance for the lambs that are escaping.
It's authentic farm noises, okay?
No, it's yokel. It's called No Fences and Really Busy. I don't know how they've got out. So all the sheep are escaping. So then the dog's barking at the sheep. Roy might walk past and offer us a drink at some point. Fingers crossed.
Something cold and fizzy, please.
Yeah.
Right. Should we get into today's episode? Because I think this might be quite a long one. This is chaos. This is chaos. Right, 2 topics today. Picking these together is, as I said, probably going to make for quite a long episode, but they're both in the headlines. We are talking about Clarkson getting TB and the farm supposedly being in lockdown, but what does that lockdown really mean and what does TB mean for farmers? And then later we will be discussing farm safety, and that article headlined "Children working on farms is akin to sending kids up chimneys," which has gained an absolutely massive amount of traction.
I mean,
online.
Let's be honest, if my child could fit up a chimney, it'd be going.
Right, Charlotte, let's get into it. Let's talk about TB and Clarkson's farm.
Oh, wow, what a conversation. It's really funny, you feel like you have to choose your words carefully. It's like talking about halal, isn't it?
It's the first thing that I want to say, which I think is quite an interesting, I guess, kind of narrative around TB. Farmers have been up against the challenges presented by TB for years and years and years. It's financial, it's mental, it's the loss of genetics.
Yeah.
It has so many detrimental impacts, but it's Clarkson's farm which has brought it into mainstream media.
It's not the first time it's been brought into mainstream media, though. There was the Brian May documentary.
Thanks, ex-Top Gear presenters, for bringing it to...
I have just literally put 2 and 2 together. What?
Hold on, actually just
They're
cut
friends.
that out. It's not Top Gear.
It is Top Gear.
No, he's not Top Gear.
Oh, no, he's Queen. Oh my God, we're meant to like popular culture, Rebecca. What's going on? What's he called?
James May, not Brian. Brian May did the TV documentary.
They've both got crazy curly hair. I mean, I bet James May wishes he was Brian May.
Right, just, whoops, we'll move on from that.
Sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable without looking absolutely horrendous.
Anyway, it's back in mainstream media. It's not the sort of thing which is talked about.
Well, for me personally, it doesn't do very well. So we are a hotspot area, and we've had to deal with TB for, I'm going to say, the last maybe 9 or 10 years.
Yeah.
We've been on 6 monthly testing.
Should we just go back a step? And for some people who are listening might not know anything about TB at all. Basically, it's a bacterial disease. It's respiratory.
It is bovine tuberculosis. So, the jab that you've got that left the scar on your arm, I think we've all pretty much got one, haven't we? It's that.
Basically, all mammals can get it. So that is cows, or in theory, are susceptible to it. Cows. Humans can get it. It's very unlikely in this country. You have to be exposed to...
Is it zoonotic disease? It's not transferable, is it?
No.
Bovine TB? No, I didn't think it was.
And you have to be, if you're a human, you'd have to be exposed to a human's infected like cough droplets for a really long period of time. So it's not very prevalent here, where one, obviously vaccination for humans, but also I guess just a higher level of let's say healthcare, less overcrowding in living and accommodation, etc. So it's highly unlikely, so that we don't need to scaremonger the public and think that they're going to get TB because we've got it in our cattle population.
It's really funny. We have to... I'm glad that you're sat next to me thinking of these things, because I'm so used to being in my goldfish bowl that I wouldn't have to explain that.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think it's that scary thing, oh my gosh, I'm going to get TB.
No,
But
you're not. You're not going
fine.
to get TB.
I mean, it does happen. If you've got the symptoms, go and get it checked out. But,
Please don't use our podcast as a medical reference.
But the main problem that we face with the cattle population in this country is the fact that the infection is transmitting between wildlife and cattle and predominantly badgers. They say that perhaps deer and stuff are involved, but it's badgers, isn't it?
I think that every other thing that can contract TB has a management plan in place. So for your deer, for instance, they are managed. The wildlife is managed. I think badgers is the only uncontrolled species that can contract it, maybe. We are in, I'm still choosing my words carefully, which is very unlike me. Very unlike me. We're in a hotspot area. We were in a hotspot area, hotspot 41. And we were going down all around us with TB. Every farm that borders us has had a reactor. Whether or not that's proven in the end to be, a conclusive case of TB.
Let's just explain that. So when you're talking about a reactor and going down with TB, depending on what area you're in and how risky it is in terms of TB, you will have routine testing. So it could be 6 months.
It used to be every 4 years, and I think you only used to test. Roy stood next to me, so he'll be able to say something. Every 4 years, and you only used to test breeding cattle.
Yeah, those heifers in the village are going fat, you see.
Yes.
Yeah, well, like Roy said, he's winking. Those heifers in the village are going fat. So it wasn't a strategy, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
Because it wasn't an issue.
Yes.
So physically, what happens? So you'll bring all of your cattle in. So whether you're on...
But the frequency, it could be if you're in a high-risk area...
Well, we've been on 6 monthly testing for the last 10 years. And then only last year we went on to yearly testing.
Yes, so there's...
Because of the success of the management here.
Of badgers. So testing, it's basically like an allergy test in a human.
You get a control, so you get 2 injection sites, one above the other. You get bovine tuberculin, which is on the bottom, blue. It is blue. There's a blue and a red, so you get blue, bovine, bottom. Remember that. And then you get your avian, which is red and is on the top. So obviously you've got your avian tuberculin, which is your test, and you should get a lump.
Yes.
And then whether or not the lump from the bovine is bigger than the avian, it is up to interpretation.
Yes.
That is whether or not you have a reactor to the TB that they've injected. And it is, honestly, I can't even tell you how awful it is. I used to feel physically sick. I used to get diarrhea. I used to be, honestly, write me off for 2 days before.
Talk us through the impact of a reactor. If you get a reactor,
it's not necessarily for me just the reactor. It wasn't just that. And I wish I have a friend, I won't mention his name. He has just had a reactor the other day and I asked him for comment, but it's too raw.
Yes.
He can't. He literally said, I'd rather not. I can't.
Yes.
And it is such a stress. Now, in days gone by, it was a stigma. And it was, oh yeah, have you heard such a body's gone down with TB? And it was a case of you've brought it in from somewhere. You've brought a bull in from Ireland, for instance. You've brought cattle in from Cheshire, because the Manchester Ship Canal used to keep TB at bay in the north. That's what they used to say. Badgers didn't cross, and obviously everything was tested, supposedly. So it never used to cross the Manchester Ship Canal. And then all of a sudden it started coming up, and it was brought in probably, if we were on the farmer's side, we would say it was brought in by wildlife. But if we were on, rational thinking side, we would say that it's bad management on everybody's part, that animals have been moved from areas of high risk, tested or not.
Yeah.
And then, but honestly, it was just an awful situation to be in. So you'd have to drag all of your animals in from the field twice a year. For me, it was more the stress of physically moving all of the animals. We didn't have dairy cows. We had suckler cows, which didn't like being handled. They didn't like being rammed into a crush. You had calves with them. One part of the year, you'd be fine. You'd just have cows.
Yeah.
The next part of the year, you'd have the calves with the cows. So you'd have the cows squashing the calves. And honestly, it was just It was really awful. Some people claim that if the cows are pregnant when you're doing it, you can increase the risk of abortion in the cattle. Some people also claim, which I don't actually think is true, to be perfectly honest, that the actual test itself can cause abortion in cattle, but I am very dubious about that.
So let's go back to, you have a reactor. So effectively, it's come upon that allergy test of that cow has TB.
Yeah.
What happens then to that cow?
I think if it dies, regardless. I think they
When
can
you say
retest.
dies, it's cold, isn't it?
This is the thing. It's so unclear for if you'd not had it happen. I think I could cut this out or I could not. I'll ask Roy in a second. I think if we had a reactor, they would, because we're in a hotspot area, they would kill it. And they would basically cut it open and culture its lungs and see if it had grown any TB within that time frame. And then you would know whether or not you had a proper job or not. Because you're going to get so many false positives, and that's what they're saying about this test. It's been unreliable. You can also have a different test where you bleed from under the tails. Sorry, this is quite a technical episode. People might not find it that interesting.
Interesting, yeah. So when we talk about the test, the Badger Trust, now obviously we've got to be kind of discerning about where this information is coming from, but this is an interesting one. The Badger Trust say that 20 to 50% of infected cattle could be missed each time a herd is tested. Now, of course, you could say that the Badger Trust are going to say that the problem lies with the cattle, not the badgers, and the cattle testing. However, the TB Hub say that in practical terms, on average, 20 to 25% of TB-infected cattle can be missed by one round of skin testing using, the standard testing and interpretation. So let's say it's somewhere in the middle of that. Let's say it is around 20% of cattle are missed by this test.
TB testing is not up to scratch. Everybody knows this. Farmers aren't happy with it. Scientists are working harder to try and get. And people say, why don't you vaccinate them? The reason they don't vaccinate them is because they cannot tell the difference in the end between a vaccinated animal and an animal with TB.
Yes, because it still has those antibodies in its system.
So they will not vaccinate because they have not developed enough to be able to do that. Farmers are not happy with this.
Yes.
Farmers around the country, people don't want to be TB testing.
Well, I think this would probably be quite a good time to play a voice note from Sophie Bell. Brilliant girl in farming over in Ireland. She's just doing a really good job on social media. She's built a really, really impressive following as well. But also, alongside farming, obviously very academically talented. She's just done now I don't know what the formal term is for, I don't know if it's slightly different in Ireland, but basically her research, her dissertation effectively, was in TB. So we've got a voice note from Sophie, and she said that the research is mainly outlining the lack of care and accountability from authorities and putting data together to solidify this in comparison to farmers who are suffering immense consequences. So if we hear from Sophie now.
Hi ladies, very much enjoying your chats, so keep up the good work. My research has focused on the impact of bovine tuberculosis on farmers, looking far beyond the financial cost to the emotional and mental toll it takes on farming families. I chose to undertake this work because despite decades of control measures, TB continues to disrupt livelihoods and create significant stress in every aspect of farmers' lives. Whilst I can't share my detailed findings just yet, one pattern I have noticed is that new cases often emerge in areas where wildlife habitats, particularly badgers, have been disturbed, whether that's through ash dieback, culling, and also development such as roadworks or construction in the local area, which causes the onset of stress and perhaps causing more TB in badgers across the country. It's just a pattern that has been noticed. What's clear is that farmers are carrying the majority of the burden in tackling TB, and too often they are also the ones taking the blame. Other authorities and stakeholders need to step up to the mark with equal responsibility. and this must be approached as a shared challenge, not one left on the shoulders of farmers alone. Once my research is published, I will be putting this information forward to help shape future policy, and I will also be sharing it widely on social media to encourage a fairer, more collaborative approach to resolving the issue, which is very much needed.
She speaks really well, doesn't she?
What a well thought out girl.
Now, I think it's really interesting. So she said she wanted her research to go beyond the financial. I am just going to mention TB Free England say that the average financial impact per farm breakdown, so if you get that reactor,
Unreal.
including wider costs, is around 22,500. So that's just on each farm. If you get a breakdown, that is the average. So obviously, be some people lower, but there'll be some people much, much higher than that. So that financial thing is a massive factor. But I think it's brilliant that Sophie is focusing on that shared responsibility, the emotional and mental toll on farmers and their livelihoods. It's absolutely massive, and I really don't think it's getting the traction that it needs.
I've always found on social media, if I ever posted about TB, no one watched it. No one cares. People are interested, don't get me wrong, but no one cares.
So, should we be culling the badgers then?
Yes, it works. Yes. Don't get me wrong, I think now's a good time to play my, I have a video from when Brian May released his documentary.
Not James May.
The TB and Me, not James May. Oh my God. You know I'm leaving that in, that we actually thought that.
I'm sorry for being so stupid. I'm sorry.
It was me.
Oh, yeah,
One farmer's thoughts on the Brian May Badger documentary.
Not
I'm
James
Charlotte,
May.
and I am a farmer from Cumbria, and these are my cows, and it's very windy. So the opening of the programme with videos of hedgehogs seems slightly ironic, given that badgers are their apex predator. And then following with a statement from Brian that even if it were found that badgers were the problem, he would not be in favour of a cull. I am an animal lover, and I would rather have a healthy, well population of badgers than a very sick one. I would just add that just because a rock star says he doesn't believe something, it doesn't make it not true. While the programme was well intentioned, it ignored actual statistics that show a clear reduction in BTB in areas where wildlife control is used alongside other biosecurity measures. We are in a hotspot area that has employed vaccination to contain the disease, culling to control it, and then vaccinations again to safeguard against reinfection. We have cleaned up both wildlife and cattle around here, and a healthy population of badgers and cows is surely what we all want. Concentrating on the horror stories and overlooking successful work, I feel, is misleading. Wildlife control being a success isn't a conspiracy theory that's being fed to farmers, as implied by Sir Brian. It is years of research by countless vets and scientists over hundreds of farms and animals. The programme ignored all statistics and peer-reviewed science and chose to look at a singular farm which has gone down with BTB since, therefore undermining the whole production. To imply that slurry is the main reason for widespread infection, to me, is irresponsible and simply not true. Whilst I can see the theory, as a farmer, only applying slurry to arable land and then ploughing it straight away is absolutely not a strategy. It's not needed, nor is it practical to implement into any farming practices. And it actually goes against regenerative farming methods, which I thought a custodian of the countryside like Brian would be all for.
Mic drop.
Although unpopular, the wildlife control strategy yields very successful results, and teamed with stringent testing and biosecurity measures, decreases breakdowns. Fact. It isn't a revelation, especially to farmers, that the skin test isn't 100% reliable, but it is all we have. I feel the programme was led more by feelings than fact, but I am grateful that BTB, bovine TB, has been given a platform on mainstream media because that was much needed. So for that, I'm really grateful for the programme.
What are you calling
Oh, sorry, Beth Dutton coming on there.
I think, so I always feel like I bring in the statistics.
Yeah, go for it. Because I don't.
So DEFRA commissioned a study between 2013 and 2017. Now, I appreciate this isn't that recent, but it's quite hard to get very,
It's very hard to get recent data.
But it found that in Gloucestershire, there was a 66% drop in TB herd breakdown, so that's on farms with cattle, and a 37% drop in Somerset, where there was culling over that period, badger culling. However, in Dorset, where they'd only done 2 years of culling, there was no significant change. Now, this fits in with sorry for reading this, but I obviously can't contain all of this in my brain. The randomised badger culling trial showed that widespread and sustained culling could reduce cattle TB, but if you only cull in small or short-term areas, it actually could increase TB incidence because of the badgers moving in.
Yeah.
They always say that, don't they? That if you get rid of one badger, another one comes in, takes his home, basically. Isn't there a saying? What's this?
So we always used to say around here, essentially you'd want clean badgers to stay.
Yes.
So if you've not got a problem in your wildlife, you didn't want them moving on because they were territorial and they basically kept the dirty ones out.
Yes.
But if you were in a dirty area, you were absolutely goosed, should we say.
Yeah.
Does it work? Yes, it does. Does it move it on? Yes, it does. I think it does. Now, I don't know whether that's scientific that it moves on, but we were hotspot 41. Everybody around us was going down with TB at a rate of knots. Honestly, different strains as well. That's the thing. It's quite a conversation because you have different strains of TB, where it's come from. Different, there's a Cheshire strain and an Irish strain and a
bit like
strain.
COVID almost.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So you had it coming from different places. So essentially, you had different problems that we were trying to combat. So we essentially vaccinated a big circle. Inside the circle, they called the badgers. So we started from afresh, and then any new badgers that moved into the circle, we then vaccinated. So you ended up with a big, clean pool. Cases have all but disappeared.
Yeah.
And I mean, they really have disappeared. They cleaned up the very small pocket where it was coming from. It's been eradicated. It always feels like you're pointing fingers at people, which is awful.
I'm going to say, and I know we have to be realistic, that not every farmer is going to do everything best practice. But from the conversations that you have, particularly around at the auction and stuff like that, the shame and the worry that farmers have that they could have been the one who brought it in I think is enough to stop it. If the testing's in place, but the testing hasn't been 100%, the mortification that farmers feel if they're the one who's brought it into a clean area.
Do you want me to ring the guy and ask him for a voice note?
Do you think he'd give us one?
I don't know. Pause. Like literally how bad is it?
That's horrendous. I remember the first person I told when I lost 12 cows, and another lad similar age to me, and I started crying. Well, you can't. It's not for a man to start crying, is it? I think.
Yeah, but it's huge. It's huge. It's absolutely.
It is. It's massive. Yeah.
But do you think the stigma of having a reactor on a farm has disappeared with it being so common round here?
Yes and no. I think I don't think it's what it was. Like, was it 2015, was it, when I first got it?
And were you the first person round here to get it?
No, I wasn't. There was 3 or 4 others.
But it was early on, wasn't it?
At the same time. Yeah, it was early on. I was down the same day as I did, and there was another couple that had been down the year before. But yeah, it was still very new in the area.
So would you say that as a summary, would you say the badger culling in our hotspot area was successful?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I said.
Did we have about 40 something cases at one point on different farms? Like 1 year, was it? I think. There's only been a couple of cases a year now, but Yeah, I think was it 2018 the last time 17Z, the strain we were looking for, was found in a cow or a badger.
Yeah.
So it's that 7 years ago. Well, now in it.
I would say that is a huge success.
It is, yeah, and it needs sort of saying more, really, how good a success it was.
I think that literally sums it up, that emotional toll, which is, as I said, it's not being recognised. The financial side is enough to put you out of business and to make you think this isn't viable to do anymore. But that consistent worry, that consistent threat, the shame, and actually, you don't want to be the one who effectively is in charge when all the hard work of people before you is gone.
It was a big thing for these guys to step up. I won't put his name in, but it was a big thing. So they basically had to set up like a company together to organise this cull, and with the help of several organisations. And yeah, he was one of the people who orchestrated it all, with another neighbour of ours. And then they have the task of ringing all the farmers and asking them to join in. And yeah, it was I think it was a daunting task for them. And at the time, you had a few people that didn't join in. And yeah, I think the benefits of it have outweighed the negatives, definitely.
Do we want to finish off by hearing from Steve?
Yes. So Wales have basically fucked it up.
Absolute disaster.
Yeah, no, really. And I think it is worth noting how successful our cull has been and how unsuccessful Wales has been.
TB, what a controversial subject, but it shouldn't be. Particularly here in Wales. The mistake was made with TB when it was politicised. It should have been evidence-led rather than a political bloody hot potato that nobody really wanted to do anything about or deal with properly. It's interesting when in England, there's cull areas with a 50+% reduction in TB incidents in cull areas. Yet in Wales, it's completely out of hand. And yet our Welsh devolved government turn around and say that there's no evidence to support culling in Wales, and they won't be culling. It's nonsensical, and I've always had the opinion of you cannot continue to keep testing and culling one species without testing and culling the other. It's manifested itself in dairy herds. It happened with us. It destroyed our dairy herd. It's manifested itself in wildlife. And I just for the life of me can't work out or understand the sort of the reasoning behind not being prepared to take difficult decisions. We all have to take difficult decisions. We made a very difficult decision last year in our own situation, and you have to do it. And politicians have, let's be brutally honest, they have no real understanding or respect for rural life. And they certainly don't understand or respect the people that work in it. And it's a travesty, it's a tragedy, in if truth be known, what is going on in the countryside around TB. And it seems to have gone on the back burner of late because IHT is sort of taking the headlines, but don't kid yourselves, TB is an ever-present, particularly here in Wales. And this isn't going away. This isn't going away. And there's all different kind of things, Welsh Government are doing anything but roll the sleeves up, accept the evidence, the peer-reviewed papers of what's going on in England with the culls, but they refuse point blank to do it. But they have to. They have to.
Shall I tell you something really bad? Do you know what happens to an animal after it has been confirmed with TB? After the government have taken it and you've had your measly payout.
I bet you have to pay for the cost of fallen stock or disposing it or something stupid like that.
No. Think of the most unlikely thing that you could imagine.
Food chain?
It goes into the food chain. So after all this, you are still eating that animal? Tell me, what is the point?
Do you know what I thought was really interesting? And I think, Steve, it ties it well into what Sophie was saying. Farmers, particularly there in Wales, are disproportionately taking on the responsibility of TB. He's exactly right when he said, why should cows be tested and culled and nothing happened to the badgers?
I think their argument on that is that the cattle is being moved far and wide and it's our responsibility because we're doing the movements. Whereas, let's be honest, in the favour of the badger, they're quite a territorial creature that won't move far in their life. So they are very localised.
But if you have an inherently infected badger population...
Which Wales does.
It's no good just...
So what kind of wildlife activist person... Let's put aside the politicised, like Steve says, the antis and all this shite, because let's be honest, that just is just people wanting to cause issue. What kind of person would want an unhealthy population of an animal that they claim to love?
It's staggering. And actually, because, I mean, we'll go around into a rabbit hole now, but obviously badgers have no natural predators. So therefore, they will just keep going unhealthily. As you said before, a healthy population...
Of both.
They can thrive alongside
I don't
each
not
other.
like badgers. Badgers are great.
I hate badgers.
Well, they're
kill all
quite
the
vicious.
They
Yeah,
kill all
you're
the
right, hedgehogs.
birds.
Yeah, you're right.
They kill all the They take all the eggs out of ground nesting birds. They kill all the hedgehogs. It actually...
They will chase you as well if you see one.
Yeah, they're vicious buggers. It actually pisses me off when the likes of the Chris Packham Brigade do these badgers, baby badgers, which obviously look cute and fluffy, and look at them stripy, like bouncing around.
You go near one, they'll literally bite you.
Well, they're bouncing around to this tinkly little cute music, and we're then, or the public are then shown cute badgers. Why are farmers wanting to kill all these cute badgers?
Roy blames wind in the willows.
There's a lot to be said for these things.
What was he called? Mr. Brock?
I didn't really...
Roy, what was the badger called? Animals of Farthing Wood, Mr. Brock.
There's no real easy way to wrap up this conversation on TB. As Steve said, it's here to stay.
There was something I was going to say.
Go on.
Even more slightly controversial than the TB. Let's talk about the Badger Trust. I pulled up their accounts last night.
Oh.
Do you know where all your money goes? All these people that think it's going towards cute badgers, do you know where your money goes? Let me get it up. Because I actually
Are we just dropping this bombshell and just being like, right, we're getting on to the next topic now, bye?
Yes, we are. So the Badger Trust, let's go through it. Accountancy and bookkeeping, just over £1,000. AGM and board expenses, £2,900. CEO expenses, £1,186. Now that's actually not that bad, is it? That's quite acceptable. A couple of hotels, etc. Bank charges, £91. Campaigning expenses, £9,609. And this goes down very similarly to all the rest of them.
I don't think that's a very large amount of money for campaigning expenses, if that's what
No,
they're set
not
up
when
to
your
do.
wages and salaries are £189,000.
And I think that's it. If your salaries and wages were that much, but you were spending $500,000 on campaigning, you'd think,
Oh yeah, it's kind of relative. No, 189 grand on wages. I'm sorry, what? So all these little, when you say all these campaigns and these antis and the Badger Trust love badgers and they hate TB.
No, they just like getting
They just
paid
like
for
getting
doing
your money.
bugger all.
The whole thing of the anti-cull brigade. I can't even speak. The anti-cull brigade. It's all about money.
Yeah.
It's all about them getting your money, and they know what they're doing. It's good media. That is all it is. So next time you see a cute Chris Packham badger, I'm surprised he's not getting paid.
He will be somewhere.
Honestly, it's infuriating.
It's
really
unbelievable, isn't it?
It's nothing to do with the badger. It's all to do with the wages. So on that bombshell.
On that note, let's talk about something. Oh, yeah, just a nice, easy, light topic. We're moving on to farm safety in a minute. We'll be back in a sec.
The Wilson and Ashley
Podcast.
That's horrendous. We're 45 minutes in.
Jesus.
Do you think people can listen to us for that
Right,
long?
I'm sorry, everybody. We knew it would be a long one. No, some of that might go.
And Joe Stanley's getting off light. We're going to have to rush it.
Right, let's just get straight into this bit. Farmers Weekly are giving us some headlines recently, aren't they?
Farmers Week could give all the headlines.
So they obviously have their opinion writers, some of which I have to say I don't dislike reading.
No.
Some of them I think are using
Well, I
clickbait.
think it's funny controversially because when we obviously we will pick topics that are talked about. We've never picked a Farmer's Guardian topic yet that's as talked about in a controversial sense.
No, you're right.
Does that tell you something?
That's right. That is a very good point. A very good point. Anyway, the headline, Joe Stanley, their opinion kind of writer. Children working on farms is akin to sending kids up chimneys.
I love it.
Discuss.
I love it how you've read that.
Well, you can see from my tone that my initial feeling, even when I read that headline, and obviously we're going to delve into it a bit more, was, hold on, why are we talking about that sort of forced labour back from the dark ages? I just worry. It's a bit like the young farmers situation, which Farmers Weekly covered. I just worry that the clickbait headline gets farmers' backs up and then distracts us from a true conversation around farm safety, which we still need to have because
We
our farm
definitely need
safety
to have.
records in farming is shit. Isn't it? Don't we have 40% more deaths than other industries? So I can't remember. I think I've got it written down here. I just think let's not get the clickbait headline in the way of the truth. What? Hold on. Don't let the when people
Don't let the truth get in the way
of a good story. Well, actually, no. Let's get to the truth.
Don't let the
of
story
it.
get in the way of the good truth, of the bad truth in this case.
So I don't really know where should we start with a voice note from somebody on this, or where do you want to start?
We have got many voice notes on this.
Yeah, I mean, Farmers Weekly views have probably upped massively from this article. So
Oh, I wonder why
They've done their
Sorry,
job.
I'm really sorry.
no, we're being cynical. No, we're not.
We're being naughty. So, do you want me to read a bit of the article?
Yeah, let's pick out a few little bits of it.
Okay.
Do you want me to send you the picture?
We have a chat. We have episode chats, don't we?
can send
This
you
one's called Episode on TB and Kids on Farms. Oh, you've got a picture?
Yes.
Oh. Oh, she's got the actual picture. Once more, I mean, I've never met Joe Stanley, but I'm imagining what he sounds like. Once more into the breach. All my time writing on farming issues, nothing has been guaranteed to generate a more negative reaction than the issue and children on farms.
Can I just interject at a few points in this? I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah, go on then.
Issue of children on farms. There isn't necessarily an issue with children on farms.
Listen, I have children on farms and it's a massive issue.
Just
Just in general. They're in the way.
Children on farms is not an issue. I think the issue is if they are involved in, say, operating machinery or they are not aware of the risks. Them on farms, supervised, bottle feeding a pet lamb or whatever, there is not an issue with that. There are risks to be assessed, but inherently there isn't and should not be an issue with children on farms.
But I absolutely shouldn't take the piss. I think our issue, farming's issue with this article, man, as one, is the tone
Yes.
of condescending, looking down on, which, to be perfectly honest, is a theme in my view. Not just of him or as a person. I unfollowed Joe Stanley a long time on Twitter, a long time ago. I think it was probably over the young farmers thing in Blackpool and the slogans on the shirts. And I just think you get nowhere preaching.
I just think he's missed a real opportunity to really talk about farm safety in the way that it should be talked. Yes, spark that conversation. But what's interesting is when this has been posted online, there's hardly any comments
About the farm safety. It's all disagreeing because they're so angry about the tone.
Yes.
Which I think clouds the view, which is the conversation, I think.
I think farmers do care about their kids. They don't want an accident to happen to their kids on the farm.
No.
They don't want that. But this article gets their backs up.
So, My attention was recently caught on social media by posts of a 13-year-old girl running a 250 horsepower tractor and a big square baler. As one post noted, better than most middle-aged men. On a personal level, I have a great deal of admiration for such a young person having the work ethic and maturity to undertake such a job. No doubt they will have, if they wish, a bright future in the industry. But on an intellectual level, what on earth are we thinking? A young child operating that sort of machinery. In an industry with a death rate 21 times the all-industry average, in which 2, 3 and 4 children are killed every year, let alone the much larger number of adults in similar circumstances. I look back at my own childhood when at the golden age of 13, I was reached and I suddenly became a source of free, if admittedly enthusiastic, labour. Overnight, it magically became acceptable to dispatch me into the milking parlour to work night shifts and deal single-handedly with 150 rather large Holstein Friesian cows. Now, this goes on and on, but the only bit that I wanted to actually pick up on that I can't find is when it was related to children being in the workhouse.
Yes. So let me preempt the arguments which will be flung at the letters page next week. The kids want to do it. Margins are tight and we need the labour. How do we get young people into ag if we don't start them at a young age? And of course, it's what we've always done. Much the same arguments were made when we sent children down mines, up chimneys or under the spinning jenny. Now, so as Charlotte said, we've got quite a few voice notes to go through on this. I just want to make a point in that Joe's talking about his experience of being young on the farm. Now, my sister and I grew up on a farm, but we were not chucked into work night shifts as free labour. Joe says, I remember being deposited onto the driver's seat with instructions to roll a block of grass. Only after the depositor drove away and my excitement dissipated did I realise in floods of tears that nobody had ever shown me how to even operate the tractor,
Joe
let
Hun,
alone
I
do
did
so
that at 25
in a safe
and I
manner.
still sat in floods of tears because no one had shown me how to use it.
But the other thing is, many people are being shown. My dad's shown me how to use every bit of machinery that I use. Now, albeit I haven't gone to a competent training provider, as it were, or a formal training provider for some of that stuff, but I'm confident when I get on machinery, I have been shown how to use it appropriately, safely, in accordance with the conditions, whether that's on a hill, whether that's if it's wet, whether that's on the road, in a field, whatever. I'm confident that I've been shown adequately. But let's be honest, I went back to the farm when I was 25. I was not driving tractors at 13, 15. By 18, I was leading corn, but that was it, really.
I have a nearly 13-year-old. My 13-year-old has never, let's call her 13. My 13-year-old has never sat in the driving seat of any vehicle.
Yeah.
Any vehicle. On farm, off farm, in a field, regardless. She hasn't. It's not her interest. It's not in her interest to let her do that. It's not in my interest to let her do that. Machinery is, in my opinion, too big, too expensive, for one. Let's be honest, if she crashes it into a hedge, it's a big bloody bill.
We're in a different era as well from 20, 30, 50 years ago. Tractors
It's
are
not
different.
a massive 135.
The size of the tractor is different. The capacity of them is different.
So we very much were not going to say what we thought we should say. And the video he's referencing is a young girl, she's 13, looks completely competent and very much well done her. Now, I will just highlight some of her achievements. I'll play a voice note which does highlight her achievements. So I gave Abby Coombs a ring. Now, Abby is the person who posted the video of the 13-year-old on the baler. Now, Abby was extremely proud of this young girl. She thinks it's wonderful. And she was showcasing her achievements, I think. Yeah. Did she come third stock judging champion nationally with young farmers, was it?
Yeah.
The girl, she's not from farming. And I think Abby's intention was just to show and highlight how much of a positive young... I can smell bacon butties, Rebecca.
Right. No, it's the pork.
Oh, I put pork in. Sorry, Abby. So this is, I'm going to say, Abby's take on... If I can...
It's going to knock her confidence, isn't it? Like, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you are listening to this. Obviously, you want to put my 2p into this whole shitty situation. So, obviously, I put up the video of Macy. I filmed her. It was all a little bit of a surprise. Obviously, put it up on social media. We did a bit of a joke with it, and obviously never expected it to go like it did. And now, for some middle-aged man to put their 2p in where it's really not wanted, it's, yeah, a bit shitty. But we're going to go with it anyway. So, you cannot tell someone's situation from 26 seconds. Like, this girl doesn't live on a farm. She's not been brought up on a farm. She genuinely just watches her dad and picks it out from that. Like, she is an inspiration, both livestock and with tractors. Like, she's built up her own flock of sheep. She's doing incredible stock judging, everything. You would not understand what that girl has achieved. So then for this middle-aged man to come along and say, oh, she shouldn't be doing that, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's going to knock her confidence, isn't it? Like, also, I think it's really bad of Farmers Weekly. I know this isn't aimed at Farmers Weekly, but we're going to go for it anyway. Why are they giving him the platform to do this? Like, obviously, her being a 13-year-old girl thinking, oh my God, Farmers Weekly have written about me. And then to realise it's like that. I also think shame on them, because it's not exactly helping her confidence. Because admittedly, she could now tomorrow just be like, oh my God, I don't want to do it. Like, why should I do it if everyone's just going to tear me down and all this? But luckily, there are so many people, like, saying how well she's doing, but I doubt that would be the case. But it does only take one comment, and especially with, we say how big, like, social media world is and what have you, we should be praising the people, not bringing them down. Because that was my whole aim with the video, and now it's been completely taken out of context. Yes, farm safety is an issue, but that's not just down to one video. That's a whole different thing. So to blame it on one video that you don't understand what came before that 26 seconds and got edited out or anything like that, I could go on for days, but I'm going to stop this voice note now.
Let's be clear. There are a lot of intricacies within the law of different ages operating different types of machinery.
It's fuzzy and specific.
It's open to interpretation, but then it's very clear.
Yes. Now we've obviously just read the HSE website. Literally, we've been sending it to each other. What was your understanding before yesterday?
I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't really have much of an understanding.
Nor did
of
I.
What I, at that age, would be able to do, mainly because I was never exposed to it on our farm at home. Now, I'm lucky to have had the upbringing of farming in terms of, I would say, really quite a wide understanding of the risks of being around machinery. Oh, don't go near I don't even ever go near a PTO.
No. Oh,
even
no.
if it's off, I don't even like going near them.
Honestly,
but
it's unreal.
All of that side of things. I'm going to be completely honest. I did not have a clear understanding of the law because it's not something I've ever been exposed to. And this is a bit random, but I see...
Nor does the rest of the farming industry.
No. I see being posted online, people saying, oh, my child's going to take their tractor test. Can they go in this farm tractor? But it says it's too big or whatever. So I had this vague idea of 17-year-olds or 16-year-olds who are taking their tractor test are limited in the size of tractor and piece of kit or whatever that they could drive. But no specifics. Genuinely no specifics. Not a clue.
No.
I'm going to be honest.
I didn't
not a
before
clue.
yesterday.
And I don't think we're unique in the industry to not have a clue on those specifics.
Well, judging by the 1,000 and something comments on Gareth Wynne-Jones's repost of that video, the rest of the farming industry is in the same boat as us. They do not realise the intricacies of the health and safety legislation.
Can we also be clear? This is it just so happens that this girl is the video that has piqued the social media interest. She's not the first young person to drive a tractor. She won't.
I see them all the time.
And actually, this is for still massive credit to her for being able to physically do it.
Like, are you joking? I wouldn't do that.
All the rest of it. But my reservations around age are ability to assess the risks, just general experience in terms of hours driving. You know when you're learning to drive a car, you can take those crash 1 week courses.
Yes.
Now, my mum always
2 weeks.
2 weeks. My mum always said, you're never doing one of those. She said, because you won't have got the hours driving with somebody at the side of you to learn and understand spatial awareness, traffic flow, understanding how roads work. She said, you're having lessons and a period of lessons, and in between those lessons, as soon as your instructor says you can drive with me or your dad sat at the side of you, she said, that's when we'll take you on the roads. But she said, unless your instructor says, they can sit at this, you can sit at the side of us, and my parents wouldn't need to be, slamming on brakes, which they didn't have, or turning the steering wheel. We weren't allowed to do that. Now, I'm personally very conscious of things on the farm, health and safety wise. I think
Roy literally calls me health and safety, which is really annoying because I'm literally trying to stop him killing himself.
I think having a social media platform for some people, for me, it makes me extremely aware of practices. Health and safety practices, best practice in terms of animal welfare, best
don't get
practice
me
in
wrong,
drug use.
I do stupid things.
Oh,
I mean,
of course.
I really do stupid things. I don't video them and put them on the internet. And I'm not saying this is a situation. See, this is why we weren't going to cover it, because I am 110% not getting at Abby or the young girl in question.
Yeah.
And I mean that. I am, as of yesterday, I looked at that video and went, oh my God, good on her. Isn't Joe an arsehole for putting that in his article? Like, how dare he? I hate to say it, Joe's right.
Yeah.
On that one specific paragraph
Yes.
in the article, the health and safety does state that she may be, God, the fence is poking me right up my arse. She maybe shouldn't have been driving that piece of kit.
Do we think there's a
But up until yesterday, I didn't know that was a thing.
Do you think there's a delineation to be made in the type of work that's going on? So, for example, as Abby mentioned, that girl is building up her sheep flock, stock judging, etc. Now, to me, accidents can happen anywhere, but sheep are lower risk than, say, working with cattle or working with big machinery.
There's no specifics in this, though, is there?
So,
does it need a blanket ban?
Well, now, but that's the problem. We can't say nobody under 16 on a farm ever.
Well, they live on it. It's their home.
Do you think farm children are more aware of risks in general, have a good work ethic, it instills in them good values, they know about life and death? There's value in being a child on a farm.
Yes. Can I play you a voice note from Charles Godby?
Over the years, we've had quite a number of people come to the farm here, for experience, be it from YTS through to college work experience. But having been bitten a couple of times now, I would be very reluctant to let anybody come here who hasn't got, significant experience or come from a good farming background. And that's because it's just too dangerous. They're putting themselves at risk and they're putting me and my staff at risk. And I just haven't got the time or the manpower to sit effectively babysitting them 24/7. But you could turn around and say, well, at the same time, then why are you letting your kids work on the farm? And they have been since they were, since they were able to come out and help me, probably 10 years old. And that is because my kids, and like a lot of my friends' kids, have been exposed to the risks since day one, in a controlled way, though. And they've been brought up with that, and they've learnt what the risks are. And most importantly, they've learnt to respect the risks. And that makes a huge difference. And I'd say it's similar to the way that you see on social media or these posts about farmers' hands and all the bugs and bacteria. And you hear these stories in the papers about kids on school trips to open farms and they're all getting bloody E. coli and that crap and bugs. You don't hear of any farm kids getting it, do you? And that is because the whole life, right the way through from when mine were drinking raw cow's milk as infants to working on the farm now with filthy hands, they've built up that resistance, they've built up that strength inside them, and they've learnt to deal with it every day of their lives.
Practically, how do you teach children? I don't have children. How do you teach them the risks?
Well,
what do you do?
I think it's down to being a competent adult and a parent.
And a present parent?
Now, I have seen, I won't lie, I have seen some social media posts of other people, should we say, prominent on YouTube, that put their children in extreme danger. And I go, oh my God, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Not only you can't do that, is you can't video doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, honestly, on a weekly basis, I go, oh. And I think it's showing good practice. I mean, honestly, I could just play voice notes for the next...
Question, do you think that people who... I'm going to say who are on the high horse about farm health and safety, that's not quite the right phrase, but do you think it's because they have the luxury of time and money to be able to choose what situations they put their children in on farms? So, for example, they've got enough staff so that, I'm going to gender stereotype, but they've got enough staff that the mother can be the childcare, effectively, and there's enough staff to cover her work. Financially, they can afford a gator or a double cab pickup, not just a quad bike. So that then if children need to be taken to feed the sheep, they can be in car seats. Are we looking at people who have the privilege of choice versus people who their farms are not stacking up financially? They maybe don't have grandparents or relatives or friends to help with childcare. They don't have the time to do the childcare themselves, so the children do go out on the farm.
Completely agree. And I think it's overlooked that people are struggling. They are. I know for a fact, if I were to, and now my children are 8 and, as I said, nearly 13, if I were to have children now, which I obviously would not choose to do ever again, I am not your granola mum. I was not maternal, and I honestly, I didn't take well to child bearing or care in general. It did not.
They've turned out all right. Don't worry.
They've turned out wonderfully, but they are, they're like little adults instead of children. I couldn't afford to have children now.
Yeah.
Nursery is more expensive than rent on a 1-bedroom flat in London. It is nigh on impossible to have your children on the farm and keep them safe. Now, I do remember having Roo, and he would be in a pram and he would be in the feed passage. And that was fine when he was contained in a pram, because I'd be scraping cows with a 135 back in the day. Either side of the feed passage, I could see him. He was, relatively happy, I think. And I couldn't do that now. As soon as he became free and he wouldn't be contained, then the issues started.
Because, I don't know whether I'd get frowned upon for saying this, but I'm a twin, so my sister and I remember at lambing time, well, obviously I don't remember being, just sitting in a pram, but we would often be put in the pet lamb pen, so we were as safe as we could be in that lambing shed, because when you're 3, an adult sheep could knock you over if you were in the main shed.
And did you ever get taken on tractors?
No.
Did you not?
No. Do not remember it. Perhaps we would have a sit on the combine with my dad when we'd take his tea.
Yeah.
We'd have, but actually back then it's interesting. Now we don't tend to stop. If we're busy, we're busy. Back then I remember having a picnic on the back of the pickup or the back of the car. So there was a different attitude, I think, of maybe I'm very lucky, but I think my dad valued, not that other parents don't, but he valued seeing us so much that he would stop to have our tea with us in the back of the car, and then he'd crack on. So it wasn't like we would go and sit on with him then, if you know what I mean. It was few and far between, and I think at that time, Rosie and I were more interested in lambs than tractors. We wanted
See,
lambs and sheep.
I remember having Anna,
hens.
so bear in mind, I mean, I moved to Cumbria nearly 16 years ago, so it's been a long journey into farming. And I remember the first tractor job I was given was rolling. Fairly easy. You can't go wrong. Yes, she got it stuck.
It's my second
I
best
did
job.
not know where four-wheel drive was on this Valtra. Anyway, I took a very newborn Anna with me and I put her in the tractor in a car seat and I strapped the car seat onto the buddy seat and the child was safe. And I thought I was the best mum in the world.
And mumming.
Yeah. Look at me multitasking. And I put it online. Look
it's
at
illegal.
me I did not know that.
Yeah.
I think the whole problem is people's lack of knowledge on the subject and naivety. Now, other people would have looked at my post and gone, oh, look, isn't that wholesome?
Yeah.
It isn't farm life wonderful? Look at you're with your children, you're at one with, I can just see it.
Yes.
People would not frown on that.
Well, we'd have the conversation now being like, what the hell are they doing?
And I was that
We've had that
person.
conversation
We've had that conversation
somebody.
about someone with a baby in a tractor. I was that person. And that was just my lack of knowledge. And I think, is it an industry-wide problem that we don't acknowledge the rules, that we think rules don't apply to us?
I also think now this is not completely unique to farming, but we are expected to be, well, it's kind of unique to farming, experts in rules in a lot of areas. So for us at home, we'd have to be an expert in rules of sheep movements, on sheep withdrawal periods if I gave them medication. What else? Chemical applications for crops, an expert in that. Even things like, you have to take your course in if you're putting rat bait down to pest control. All of these things which we are, and then actually operating your machinery, lambing a sheep, if you dealing with a robot. The farm health and safety, then we have to be an expert in that legislation, is another thing which it's horrendous to say. That doesn't feature on our radar of how expert should we be in health and safety. And the difference with other industries and sectors, now unless you're working on a big farm where you perhaps would have some kind of advisor, the farm could perhaps afford an external advisor or somebody who's trained in it. I would say every other sector has a special person responsible for health and safety, for risk assessments.
But it's the same old thing, isn't it? They also have marketing departments and office
HR
staff.
and
I think that we have said this before, we're very lacking and self-dependent, aren't we? Out of the other.
Right. We're going again.
I might change where my feet are.
Oh, look at that. It's like you've been in the bath for like 5 hours.
I know.
Right, sorry, GoPro back on the go.
GoPro, as I just show you,
Yeah, we video if you want to watch us on YouTube, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Just a little.
Yeah, do. Watch us on YouTube.
Let's go into a voice note then.
Okay, so this is from the one and only Hannah Jackson. Now, I asked Hannah for comment on bringing children up on farm, how you juggle safely bringing children up, because her children are very involved on the farm. If you follow her online, you'll see. And I just wondered how that dynamic worked.
But yeah, just to kind of round up, I guess, farming can teach our kids so much, like a ridiculous amount. It is incredible what they get to experience. However, that can't come at the detriment to safety. And I think that we have to make sure that as an industry, we're looking at ourselves and we're holding a mirror up to ourselves to make sure that we are putting safety first for kids and we are keeping them out of harm's way, because nobody wants to live with that regret of anything bad happening. So yeah, I think pick your situations where children are safe, the situations are controlled, and then hopefully we'll have a lot more of a safer industry all around.
We do have to hold ourselves.
Sorry, guys, hopefully that'll do. I'm just trying to look at the hay with my nephew who's kicking off that he's not with his mum.
We do have to hold ourselves more accountable. We do.
No, we do. And I think that's the issue with this article, has very much put the spotlight onto a young girl, which I think was
unfairly
incredibly. Don't get me wrong. Until yesterday, I thought she was absolutely fine doing what she's doing. I also have a voice note.
Whilst you're finding that,
yep.
Joe, in his article, almost preempted the return arguments, and one of them was, how do we get young people into ag if we don't start them at a young age? Now, for me, just to almost pick up on what Hannah said, there's controlled risk situations. Don't tell me that because you don't put a 13-year-old on a big tractor, they're not going to be interested in farming. They can still be on the farm.
Hold on a minute. If you just take a selection of who you've just mentioned, so you're sat here, I'm sat here, and Hannah Jackson has just spoken. None of us were on farms as children.
Yeah.
You were on a farm, but you didn't have any experience of actually farming.
No.
You were on a farm. You grew up on a farm.
Oh, and we only moved to the farm at 7. When my grandparents moved out, so we moved to the farm at 7. I was not driving tractors or on machinery and one interesting thing though, that probably now at 30, I probably don't have the skills of like, not mechanics, I'm hardly, but you know, those tinkering skills of just fixing stuff because I wasn't doing it. If that makes sense.
Now I have a 7-year-old who is better mechanically minded than me and Roy, more mechanically minded, than me and Roy put together, actually. Grandad went for a ride around the field and pulled the under tray off an old, like a pickup that we have. And we got back and Roy was like, oh, Ruth, he's 8. Ruth, take that under tray off. There he was underneath the car with his spanners. And that's absolutely wonderful to see. I think there are more ways to gain experience mechanically, to pique interest than not necessarily driving big things.
Yeah.
We always say about we have robots. Number one, we can't afford staff, and number two, I won't say we're private people, but we're not. We're insular people. I mean, what can I say? Like, it seems a direct contradiction to me sharing online.
Having somebody on the farm full time would be a big change in your habits, your ways of working, etc.
We like to shout at each other. What can I say? We like to shout at each other. If I want to have a wee in a field, I don't want to look around to see who's looking. Like, we like being alone. We like being down a farm track on our own. I do not want young boys, and Roy's words always were, I do not want young boys razzing round on tractors.
Mm.
And that is the case.
Yeah.
That is the case. Not for all, but for most, that is the case. And we do not want that.
Mm.
This is from a girl called Maria. Maria Warren is another creator online. Also a mum and also a fresh mum.
Yeah.
She's got a new child. So yeah, this is from her.
To a certain extent, I can see where the article is coming from. However, it is painting everybody with the same brush. From a young age of 13, they are legally allowed to work on a farm. You expect that they would have the correct training and knowledge and safety know-how to be able to operate safely. And just by referring back to his statement within the article of saying he was allowed to drive in straight lines only as then his dad took over, I feel just highlights the lack of training of which he personally received. And maybe the article should have gone from a different angle of, when I was younger, I didn't receive the correct training and it concerns me for the future generations, rather than picking on the poor 13-year-old girl that has the correct training, has the right knowledge, knows how to go about things safely, and is competent. I feel like that's all it needs, is a competent person, and to compare a young girl like that was really disheartening to see.
That pretty much echoes what
Yeah.
That pretty much echoes what I thought yesterday.
Yeah.
Until I'd read
The legalities.
Yes.
The couple of people who have touched on, we're picking on one girl, I actually do think, imagine how she feels sitting at home now, thinking she's the target of...
Well, she's just had Caleb Cooper send her a voice note, so she's quite happy.
Well, that's something.
So I think now would be a very good time to play a voice note from Andrew Meredith. I don't need to introduce him because he introduces himself, which is wonderful.
Hi Charlotte, hi Becca. My name is Andrew Meredith. I'm the editor of Farmers Weekly, the publication that the Joe Stanley article was published in last week. Grateful for the opportunity to come on the podcast and just share with you a few thoughts today about farm safety and how we protect children on the farm in particular. For me, this is actually an area where a lot of people agree on a lot of the issue, but the points that are remaining are actually really contentious. We all agree that there should be some limits to what parents are permitted to have their children do on farm, or the limits to their carelessness without them being punished. We all agree that children should be kept as safe as possible. But in the middle of those arguments is obviously a lot of different views about where that line is. And so what that comes down to is farming culture. And that's why farming safety record, one of the main reasons why farming safety record hasn't changed a lot, isn't it? Because culture eats strategy for breakfast, as the old saying goes. So we've had 101 strategies to improve farm safety, reduce farm fatalities, and none of them have really worked. It's because farming culture isn't an out-and-out risk-taking culture, I would say, but it is a devotion to getting the job done. It's a lot of routines where sometimes you can overlook the danger because you're so used to it, and then that one time in 100 bad things happen. So for me, how we protect children on farms is by obviously following the rules that are set out by the HSC and others about where those actual legal boundaries are now, but also trying to throw off the routines and the perception of it's always been safe to this point, and not really thinking about where the problems are. So I've got a little boy, he's changing all the time. I need to continually think about where the risks for him are. And that is the job for parents too, isn't it? Thinking about where the risks are, and what the risks were last week may not be what the risks are next week, and always been alive to that issue. And strict parents breed cunning kids, don't they? So the tougher we are sometimes, the more we're creating maybe an issue down the line for ourselves, where they're always looking to find that way around the barriers as they see it that we put in place for them. So those are my brief thoughts. We're running our Farm Safety Superstars campaign at the moment. There's 2 weeks left to go. Worksheets for kids on farm safety, helping them be advocates back up to their parents for keeping everyone in the farming family safe. Just Google Farm Safety Superstars, or hopefully you'll put a link in your show notes that I can share with you now. All right, thanks very much. Looking forward to hearing the discussion. Bye-bye.
We will share the link because we're grateful for Andrew for, sending in that voice note. We wanted to hear their side of things, why it's important to publish that article. It was very balanced. Andrew speaks well, doesn't he? You can't...
He has a good job for a reason. I bet he got a really nice company car. And if he doesn't, he should.
I can't say I disagree with him.
I agree with him wholeheartedly.
He brings that balance. It is about culture. One thing, and he didn't say this as such, but it's just made me think. We do have the Farm Safety Foundation.
Sorry for the cow sounds. We are on a farm.
We do have the Farm Safety Foundation, and they do work, what you'd say, tirelessly. And
it's not sexy, though, is it?
Why hasn't their work had the impact that we'd all like it to have?
So would you say, then, that Joe Stanley's slightly more controversial take, getting more airtime's a good thing?
Well, it's very interesting. This is about more of a conversation than...
Not at the detriment of a girl.
No.
That I disagree with. Now, I will maintain that was cruel.
Yes. But if it sparks more conversation than, long-standing campaigns or initiatives or whatever, will this have more of an impact? I tell you what, there's 2 people sitting here recording this podcast who've gone and looked up the rules, which we didn't know because of this article.
Another person, a friend of mine, Ollie, he also went and he rang me and read the rules to me down the phone.
Well, there we go. That's 3 people who are more clued up than they were because of what Joe's written. Has it had a desired impact to start the conversation around farm safety?
Did we have any more of? Gareth Wyn Jones.
Yes,
we can't leave Gareth out.
Can't leave Gareth out.
Gareth was a last minute input.
Whilst you're trying to find that, I do want to just pull up a statistic.
Go on.
As I like to do. This is from the Health and Safety Executive's report, Fatal Injuries in Agriculture, Forestry and Fishing in Great Britain 2022-2023. What I think is interesting, and this is going off topic about children on farms and health and safety, but older workers, that counts as 45 years old plus, account for 80% of all work-related fatalities.
Well, I'm sorry,
in
I think they're more of a liability than the 13-year-old in half the cases.
Now, this is not to get too far down another track.
I'm sorry, don't hate me. Do not come for me.
But
I'd rather place Anna in the way of a cow and expect her to move and have reflexes than place Roy's dad there. And that is no disrespect to him. It is just physical limitations. And I think that, especially where livestock is concerned, I don't think strength's an issue.
No, it's reactions.
It's reaction times, and I think that's definitely.
So that's another conversation for another day, I'm sure. But I just wanted to add that in there because I think honing in on children is only one part of the argument. We have people on farms through this either culture or, let's say, necessity,
desperation.
Older people working literally until they drop dead because they have no other life.
Because they're going to lose the farm tenancy if they stop farming.
This is it. So there's two ends of the spectrum there, and I just thought it was interesting to bring in another age demographic. But let's hear from Gareth.
It was very disappointing for me to read Joe Stanley's article in the Farmers Weekly. Reason being, I think, the headline itself is clickbait to begin with. And as a father of 3 children, when they were young, every single one of them was educated on the farm. And I think it's so important that we teach our children these work ethics. And it's not about sticking a child on a 500 horsepower tractor. It's not about that, It is about teaching them the ethic of hard work and education and understanding, helping on the farm, feeding the chickens, collecting the eggs, helping during lambing time, pulling lambs, helping calving time. All these things are something that these children understand over a generation. I was taught exactly the same. And machinery is bigger now, and it is a conversation that we all should have. We all should be talking about it. But I think the way this article has been put together has absolutely destroyed a lot of people's beliefs in what children should be doing on farms. And I think we have to have this discussion. Health and safety is vitally important, yes, but as well, educating children on how to use machinery when they're old enough and to help on the farm if they want to. It's not free labour. It's part of what family farms are about. Not one family farm do I know that the children won't have chores and jobs to do. And it's a great way to understand how to move forward in life. Even if they don't want to be a farmer, they will have an education on hard work, determination, working in all weathers. And it's a good thing. Much better for them children than to be sitting in front of a phone, Xbox, playing games. This is what we should be talking about. And going forward, I think it's a discussion we should have like grown-ups, not clickbaiting people and not causing so much mayhem and so much disappointment by one article. That's my thoughts anyway.
I completely agree with him, but like I've just said to you, if there wasn't the mayhem and the disruption, would we be talking about it?
No, because it was just Farm Safety Week a couple of weeks ago.
I didn't talk about it.
Didn't cover it.
I didn't even know.
No. I think Gareth's voice note is probably a really good way to end because I'm aware that we have probably dragged you along for about 5 hours of your life now.
At 1.5 hours we're at.
1.5. We'll be able to cut that down a bit, hopefully. Sorry, guys. But I think my let's say to sum up from my takings of this episode, we all care about having our children on the farm for that experience of growing up on a farm. A lot of people see it as the most outside of farming. people say, I'd love my children to grow up on a farm.
Yeah, would you?
So
would you
so
really?
let's see it for what it is, in that they grow up, they have life lessons on the farm, but we 100% can be very, very astute about the risks that are there. And actually, I'm going to put it bluntly, let's all go and have a read
yes.
of the law.
I think we'll just put that below in the notes.
Go and have a read. We'll put the link. Go and have a read, clue yourself up, and then make your own decision on assessing the risk of whatever age the child is. And also, we talk about children. That sums up. Whatever age the child is, they're a child. They are still a child. And then let's just be savvy. Let's try and reduce risks wherever possible, whilst also still fostering that enthusiasm for farming if they want it.
Yeah, that's a big ask, Rebecca.
Right, sorry, bye then.
Right, yeah, no, honestly, I completely agree. I think sitting here as a parent of children of an age where they are active on the farm, one more than the other, I also think it will be a future conversation how you... We've not really gone into the stress of actually bringing children up in a workplace.
Yeah.
How do you bring children up and give them the correct amount of time, emotional, availability when you are farming?
When you live where you work where you live.
It's
work never stops.
Not idyllic. I haven't found it easy. I don't find it easy. My children are neglected 99% of the time. Do they get the time they need? No. Do they get the emotional availability they need? No. I am working, and I'm working hard. And I think that is also something we need to cover in the future, not just safety-wise, but for the purposes of this episode, we all need to look up a bit more for farm safety. But I applaud Joe Stanley. Never thought I'd hear those words come out of my mouth.
I didn't.
I didn't.
Well done for kickstarting a conversation that's had such traction.
He started a conversation. Whether or not he looks good from it is a pleasing conversation to have. That's another thing. But yeah, honestly, I think it's a conversation that's needed. There are lots of different people that have different opinions, but I think people definitely need to go and have a read of what they are actually allowed to do with their children on farms.
Well, with that in mind,
love you long time. See you next time. I need a wee.